when I was, I think, around 14, I was introduced to the Marsa Bands complex. I used to hang around 4 Strings Inn, watching the rehearsals twice a week. They had to get my parents' consent to take me there for the first time. They promised they'd drive me back safely to my house. So that was quite an experience as a 14-year-old, you know, like seeing this massive complex where all the bands play. I wouldn't say I would never go back, but I like facilities with better hygiene and stuff like that, you know. I mean, growing up in Marsa, we used to, I mean, the stairs over there, they used to stink, bro. I met DJ Mac through this relationship.
Amazing DJ.
And DJ Mac was one of the first people who believed in my solo stuff.
Wow.
So props and shout out to DJ Mac. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. We're here for the Christmas special of the last ones with music, with Myles, with Jeanine, with myself, with Luc. I think the music's a little loud compared to us, but how are you feeling?
The music is never too loud.
I'm alright. I'm feeling jolly. So
jolly. Are you really or are you against Christmas? It's okay. Or were you joking?
No, I don't like Christmas, but I'm feeling the spirit this time around.
Okay,
so.
Nice. I got you on the record saying that, so it's gonna come back and haunt you.
I'm surprised he doesn't have the green hair. He could have been all full on Grinch mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to be less Grinch this year. So
nice.
Love it.
You seem very jolly. You've been jolly all day. You got the energy going.
But yes, we're excited to pick Myles' brain, his blue brain today, because clearly the man has a different personality every time you have a different hairstyle. And this is the first time we're seeing you with the blue. So let's unfold what personality of Myles this is.
Let's see.
So for those who don't know, Myles is an artist, and I'm not putting you in the category of a music artist because you do a lot of things. You're a very visual artist. Even visually, you look like a creative, and there's a lot of layers to who Myles is. So today we're going to unfold a few of those layers, see what's going on currently, what went on in the past, and what shaped you as a person and as an artist. So let's dive all the way back, shall we? Let's go all the way back to the first time you ever embarked on a creative project, the first time you ever embarked on anything artistic or musical. When was that?
I mean, for as long as I can remember, I liked art and building stuff. Like,
did you used to paint your own hair when you were a kid? Because you couldn't dye it back then.
Eventually, yeah. But yeah, I think the first time I was introduced to music was watching MTV, really, just
classic.
Sitting in the living room watching live concerts and wondering when I'll be able to do that.
Amazing. And what was the first instrument that you picked up?
I picked up a guitar first.
Okay.
I saw an old Fender Strat laying in a corner at my cousin's house.
Ooh, sexy.
I was like, I want to play guitar.
So you taught yourself though, or you went to lessons?
No, for the first few years I used to play in the church. So I learned all the basic chords and then boring rhythm structures.
Oh, wow. Well, some of the greats, to be honest, I started in church, played organs, played with choirs. So very rite of passage, I feel like, for a few artists. Wow. Okay. And how did that inspire you then to keep on doing music? Did it inspire the sound that you wanted to go for? Because you're very punk. Church is like polar opposite.
I mean, watching MTV, I always watched like rock concerts, so I knew that church wasn't really my thing, but it was my entry to music. And then I picked up my first electric guitar, started getting proper lessons, did like 2 grades, like in theory, then I just gave that up and self-taught the rest.
Wow, and is guitar the only instrument you play?
No, I picked up the bass when I was around 14. It was a gift from my grandfather. And then I was introduced to the Marsa Bands and I started messing around the drums. So I can play drums, piano, some violin now as well. So I like anything that makes sounds, basically.
Violin?
Yes.
Wow, that is, in my opinion, one of like the hardest instruments you can learn. Violin is very particular. That's insane. We haven't heard, at least I haven't heard any violin in your music yet. Is that something that's...
No, I mean, I don't really play it out publicly.
Okay, not yet.
I don't think I'm good enough to play it publicly, but it's a nice getaway instrument to like forget the world for a bit and actually feel like vibrations against your shoulders and neck, basically.
Amazing. So obviously you're not only playing instruments to play instruments in music, isn't to show it to the world. You also do it just for yourself in your own time, hidden away in your room, picking up a violin.
Practically, yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. And then how did that progress?
So, yeah, I mean, basically, when I was, I think, around 14, I was introduced to the Marsa Bands complex. I used to hang around 4 Strings Inn, watching the rehearsals twice a week. They had to get my parents' consent to take me there for the first time. They promised they'd drive me back safely to my house. So that was quite an experience as a 14-year-old, you know, like seeing this massive complex where all the bands play. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have one of these places for myself one day, you know, like. And basically that's where the vision for being a musician in a band started.
What's this complex? Like, what is this place, or was this place? Is it still going?
It's still ongoing. There's still a few bands left there. It's in Marsa, close to the church.
Is it that it's like massive? There's also like workshops and stuff.
Yeah.
I went once for some carpenting.
There's some woodworking going on. There's some welding downstairs.
And you hear like
mechanics.
the bands going. It's
Exactly.
like a city. It's like an underground village. This place is cool. It's like a subterranean.
I mean, most of my life was there. We used to sleep there in garages eventually.
Oh, so then you got your own garage eventually. What was that like? Like the garage life?
Oh man, garage life is so much fun, you know, like
we used
to skip school just to go and play, you know, like.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. And I think a lot of the musicians that we know today also were birthed, you can say, from these garages and from the Breaker Cara garages as well. A couple of other garages around, but these were the pinnacle and the main source of creativity where people just used to go and meet up and really create together. It's the same with the Tinia Barracks Rock Village back in the 80s. There were just a bunch of garages around within Tinia and nobody used to plan anything. People just used to show up. Musicians used to jam out together. There was a time as well when a couple of famous people came down to Malta. I'm not sure which famous artists actually went down to the garages and jammed out with the musicians, but there were a record of people during the time when Tina Turner came down. She could have possibly been one of the artists who went down and jammed out. And I'm getting the side of approval. So yes, I mean, it was just a place where people used to foster creativity and artists just used to jam out together. Do you feel like this is something that's lost in today's community? Because obviously recently we had the scandal of the Breaker Cara garages getting sold, bands getting kicked out. Now there are quite a few bands that managed to find again and still stayed in Breaker Cara, but it is an ongoing struggle that if musicians get stripped away from these communities, from these garages, from places where they can go and create, what happens to them then? You know, what's your take on that? You grew up within one of these communities. What do you think is so important about keeping these places alive?
I mean, for myself, eventually I grew into a studio artist. So I kind of went away from the garage scene, but it is an ongoing struggle. And I actually look up to the younger generation that's still practicing in garages and still hustle like we did.
So you would never go back to a garage and practice?
I wouldn't say I would never go back, but I like facilities with better hygiene and stuff like that, you know? I mean, growing up in Marsa, we used to, I mean, the stairs over there, they used to stink, bro. Like,
that's just all of the artists' piss combined together. Yeah.
But, and
piss
we've
and
seen,
puke, a bit of everything.
We've seen some even darker stuff, like
it's
people
really
doing
like
drugs in the corridors over there.
Oh,
and,
shit.
Like out of their mind, and we used to have to go climb over them while they're like knocked out. So,
Damn.
literally like full blown out junkies in the corners over there. So
Well, I'm
we've seen
sure
some.
if we can go back in time and find some of the recorded songs from the people that used to make these garages, I'm sure somewhere there's a song called Junkie on the Stairs. You know, that's another source of inspiration right there.
But to be fair, for myself, I just knew that this, like that, being that kind of junkie was not something that I would ever want. So being exposed to this stuff at a young age, I was for sure determined that whatever happens in my life, I'll never be this.
Wow.
You know, like music is always gonna save me and protect me from being this, because music is all around. You know, like if you're ready to hear, music's all around.
I mean, at the end of the day, back in the day, there used to be the mountain people. I don't know what they used to call them, but music was something that was a form of communication. That's how it started. So people used to literally communicate to each other from one mountain to another, just communicate either the enemy's on the way or they need something or whatever it was from each other just by making a noise, you know, with an instrument, with a piece of stick, with their voice. That was the origin of where music kind of started, quote unquote started. But it was just made for a sense of communication between people that couldn't communicate face to face yet, or close enough yet. So it does make sense. I mean, music has always been a form of communication, either within yourself or with other people, which is a very interesting take on how that progresses then later on. Because if you communicate to people what you're feeling in the moment, does that always mean that if somebody's listening to a song that was written 50 years ago, is it still relevant? Is it something that's still showing what the artist is going through now? How did music take you from when you started playing in church, when you started playing within these bands, within the complexes, to when you wanted to start really using your own voice to communicate a different message to the people who started really being interested in the music you're making?
So yeah, basically, I was a guitarist in multiple bands before I started as a solo artist, and the main reason behind that would probably be lack of confidence. Like I songwrite from start to finish. I can write guitar parts, bass parts, drum parts, lyrics, vocal lines, but I never had the confidence to perform vocally and lead. So I always felt like I needed a band to kind of portray my vision of a song live. But then something inside in me kind of shifted and said, you know what, like, I can do it. I can do it if I practice. Like, I'm not going to be good at the start, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to make the mistakes and learn. So nowadays, I think music has also helped me build the confidence to find myself in my voice.
Wow. What were those bands, the experience of those bands like? So what did you start off with?
So I grew up playing with MsLeads, my first band. Basically, it started with Ishmael and myself.
That went on for quite a while, no, MsLeads?
Yeah, I mean, it went for like 5-6 good years.
Okay.
Then we were on and off for a couple of years. Then we found a bassist, and Nick Morales was playing drums for us at some point. And then the drummer from another band I joined, Milk Me, started filling in for Nick. And
Milk Me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Very particular name. Oh, wow.
Then at some point I used to also play as a session musician for Lyndsay. I was playing the Beer Fest and some other gigs. That's where I met Jan, the drummer of Milk Me. Once during a Lyndsay rehearsal, he was going to a rehearsal of his band, and I was free, and I was like, oh, cool, can I join? So I went and watched this band's rehearsal, and the bassist used to play 5 songs on acoustic guitar. I was like, maybe I can fill in the bass for these songs. So I started playing with Milk Me as a session bassist for like 5 songs. Did a couple gigs in that year, and then I joined as a rhythm guitarist.
Okay, wow. So you've genuinely done a lot of different parts within a lot of different bands. So you got to see each perspective. And then you kind of went into the solo career.
Yeah, I mean, Milk Me ran for the longest. I think it was 8-9 years. We have an EP. We had an EP called Scarlet Coats. And then we had an album called Emerald, a 10-track concept album. And like it's one long 40-minute song, basically split into 10 parts, which was interesting. Then once Milk Me broke up, I kind of really went took a step back and kind of took a break from music. I was working abroad as a videographer for iGaming companies, and literally I felt so lost that I just wanted a distraction. So I was just working abroad and keeping my mind distracted with work, basically.
But did that come from the breakup of the band, or was it something that you just genuinely needed a break from music?
You know, being in a band is like being in a relationship. You know, things get quite intimate. Like you meet up so many hours, so you get to share a lot of different parts of yourself with these musicians, and they become like family, you know, like brothers and sisters. And living with like these brothers and sisters for 8 years, and then suddenly you get like a forced lifestyle change, because it is like that. Because if you're going to rehearsals every day of the week, and then you're not in a band anymore, what's Monday? What am I gonna do today?
Wait, this is Milk Me, right?
Yeah.
How did this whole thing go? Like, were you the founder? Like, how?
So no, I joined as a session bassist.
Oh, I thought that was from a different band. So
no, this was
that's
that
how
was
you
the start
started,
of
and then you
Milk Me,
stayed
yeah.
in.
Then I was a rhythm guitarist.
And
full-time
when
member.
did it all start to go? Like, how did it like crash down? Was it just people all just got different jobs, or was it like a dramatic sort of tense?
Well, we had trouble with bassists during some years. We couldn't find the right fit once the bassist had quit. Then the guitarist kind of gave up, and we were like, okay, we can do this as a 3-piece. You know, we used to record stuff with backing tracks and stuff like that, and we'd put the bass and the extra guitars on the backing tracks, and we keep performing. So we done that for a few years, but I guess that didn't stick.
I guess it
enough,
didn't feel the same as well. Maybe like kind of as when you were 5, like the full.
And to be fair, there was a bit of an age gap, I guess. I mean, all the guys in Milk Me were like 7-8 years older than me. So we were at different points in our lives, you know?
Yeah, maybe they just didn't have time or something to be. You said you were rehearsing every day. That's
Yeah,
scary.
we used to
When
meet every
people say
day.
have a band, I imagine an average band rehearses twice a month or once a week or
But
something.
when you
man,
take music seriously, it becomes literally everything you do.
But how do people do that? Like, that's what I think. Because is it like not just some of the lowest returns you can get on your effort? It's like you're
I
going
mean, you can call it being young and
and
stupid,
it's like
but
the returns. Oh, fair, because I did do it a fair while, like, you know, and it's.
I guess when
man,
you're
like,
passionate about something, money doesn't really
It's past the
doesn't
money,
hold the
it's
same
like the
value
personal
as, you know.
Fair.
But you said that obviously you were in different stages of your life. You were younger, they were older. Now that you're older, do you feel like they had a valid reason? Because you're a full-time musician. I mean, you also do side projects, but they're all creative still, and still somehow one way or another linked to music or the artistic community. So do you think that now that you're older and you can kind of reason or understand their reasoning a bit better from where they were coming from back then, do you think that was a valid reason, or do you think that, hey, no, listen, I'm older now and I understand that if you really want it, you know, you could have chased that?
I mean, that's quite the lifestyle I lead, you know. I wouldn't have all this creative work if it wasn't something that I chased every day. I mean, I don't live like a conventional life where I have my own property at like 30, or I have a family, you know, like it's something I sacrificed along the way, but I have no trouble losing work or relationships for music, because in the end, when I was alone, music was what I had, you know, so I know the importance of it in my life.
And did it ever turn sour? So you're saying how music really was a part of your life where it saved you, or it created this.
Most of my intimate relationships, I was forced to choose between spending time with the band or with my partner, and I had no trouble choosing music.
So you never resented music for that?
No.
So when was
definitely.
that time when you decided to take a break from music? You moved abroad. What was your relationship with music like then?
I wasn't doing any music. I wasn't interested. I was mad. I was really mad about how things worked out, you know, because I've always had this belief of making it. By making it, I don't mean to be famous but getting to a level of success where music does pay the bills, because it is actually possible, and like being creative is a job. So,
I mean, it's getting there that's the hard part. Getting to that point where you can really say, I can pay my bills by just doing creative work. But you've gotten there, right? Are you there yet?
getting there.
Getting
I would
there.
say getting there.
Okay.
But
you're getting
the
there.
good thing is that I do a lot of other creative stuff like video, photo, design.
But at least that all still remains in the realm of creative and the artistic industry, where you're not giving up making music at home or going and shooting a music video or doing whatever to go and work in taxis or to go and work as a waiter, you know?
Definitely. I don't think I'll ever be able to have a 9 to 5. Like, really.
And I'm going to ask you a very direct question. Do you respect the artists who do still choose to have music as a side thing, still have their own lives when it comes to more maybe 9 to 5 jobs, more corporate jobs, but then still complain about not being able to make music their full-time thing?
I mean, I do respect them because everyone
has their own story with
has
it.
their own shoes, you know, they're in their own shoes every day, so you know kind of what your circumstances ask for. But I do respect those people who still stick to 9 to 5 and have music as an outlet still, because at least they still choose to use music as an outlet and spread a message. And
Do you think if you make music your full-time job, it becomes harder to maintain that good relationship with music? Because when I do speak to some artists, having that 9 to 5 job and having music on the side is actually a choice and not just a forced decision because they can't pay the bills. Most of the time it is because they can't pay the bills, they need that 9 to 5. But for most people, not for most people, for some of the artists, it becomes something more like, I don't want to make it my full-time job because then I'm scared that I will resent it, or I'm scared that I won't enjoy it anymore because it does become a literal job.
I understand that, but I guess if you build certain boundaries, you can respect yourself while still do music as a full-time. For example, if you don't find weddings as a thing you'd be down to play, then don't do weddings to make money.
What's your opinion about these wedding playings? Would you play at a wedding?
I would. I mean, I did play weddings before with Milk Me. We used to play like a couple weddings a year.
Okay.
And they're fun, to be honest. Like, you get to see people dancing. I mean, okay, you're playing covers, but I'm still doing music. What more can I ask for, you know? I could be behind the desk editing for someone, but I'm making music. I'm playing.
Wow. And there's that very big split of musicians that hate weddings and they're like, no, I would never play a wedding. And then musicians that are like, you know what? I want to play a wedding. Like, why not? It's good money. I'm getting to play my music and people are buzzed. You're not going to go to a gig and not know if there's going to be 20 people or 100. Like, there's a good turnout.
The people there are going to have fun anyway.
Literally,
you know, like.
Literally. Where do you think this mentality comes from of, no, I don't want to be a wedding band?
I mean, that's pretty much I see it as a selfish mentality, you know, like you just want people to hear your music. Well, great. But some people would want to hear covers more than your music. And it's something that you have to kind of accept. Not that your music sucks, but this probably can't get me dancing like, I don't know, some Black Eyed Peas cover, you know?
Fair enough. Wow. And then what progressed after that? So we had Milk Me, right? We had MsLeads before that, Milk Me. And then was there another band before you went into your solo project?
Then it was, after Milk Me was a long break. Then I in that long break, I really rediscovered what music meant to me. Because I could feel this void inside that's slowly getting bigger by time. And I couldn't fill it with anything, you know, like music was the only thing that could fill that void. Then I met a friend, Claude Lapes. We ended up writing a lot of music together. And I met DJ Mac through this relationship.
Amazing DJ.
And DJ Mac was one of the first people who believed in my solo stuff.
Wow.
So props and shout out to DJ Mac. Let's go.
Amazing. And then, so you started collaborating with artists on more of a smaller base? So from bands, it just became collaborating with Lapis,
Yeah, I was
DJ Mac.
songwriting with Lapis. I was songwriting also for D Legacy and some other local artists for local festivals and stuff like that. But then this project was born, Myles, where it was a cross between hip hop and a heavier rock side, if you want to put it that way.
Okay. Because you originated from punk.
I did.
So that's a turn. Even saying that you worked with someone like, for example, Lapis. I mean, they're very more hip hop style.
Thing is,
How was that?
I was
shift?
always exposed to hip hop.
Okay.
I have an older brother that used to hang out with like a bunch of rappers. So when I was young, I was exposed to hip hop, but it was never
Your
a thing
thing.
that I really followed, you know. Then I discovered nu metal, which was like hip hop bred with rock. So
I recently discovered a band like that, Skin Dread.
okay,
Oh
yeah.
my God, reggae and metal. I'm like, what is this? And I fell in love with them because it is really interesting when you see two genres that shouldn't work together. I mean, when you're reggae, you think of Bob Marley, you think of peace and love, man. And then you got metal, which is basically, if you're going to the extreme metal, because metal, there's so many genres
Yeah,
within metal.
yeah, for
If
sure.
you're going to like screamo metal, you know, and it's just so intense and it's so wow and heavy. And mixing those two is like, how is this supposed to work? And it does. And I feel like you are one of those artists on the island that does mix genres that, in hindsight, you're like, would this work? Does he really think this would work? And it works. So how did you take that approach? Were there artists that inspired you who did this besides the international scene? Was it also some local artists that you knew were doing it before? Or was it just solely out of your love for hip hop because of your childhood, because of your brother, your love for punk because of where you started? And then just saying, you know what? F it, I'm going to mix these two together and see what happens.
To be honest, I grew up on Green Day, Blink, and Good Charlotte, the
Classic.
proper pop punk. So the crossbreeding wasn't until I met Lapis and he wanted to write his rap on a rock-based music.
Wow.
So that was kind of my first experience as a crossbreeding musician, which really worked and really inspired me to do a lot of different stuff. Currently, I'm with this album that I'm releasing. I'm trying to crossbreed like the folk stuff with the pop punk side.
You have this particular song in your album. I think the title is Agnes al Poplu. Not Agnes al Poplu. No, that's the festival.
That's the best.
That's so different. The title Linnu Malti. That's it.
Lil Din, L'Art Ħelwa.
Right? L'Art Ħelwa.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Me and song names, terrible. But L'Art Ħelwa is basically a take on our patriotic song of the island, but in a very, I want to say satirical, but maybe not even. It's more of a in your face, what has this country come to?
I think it's irony-based songwriting.
Okay.
I used all the things that happened in the past years, like that Maltese people could relate, like the COVID situations, like the political stuff, and kind of rewrote everything as if it was the modern national anthem.
Wow. And what was the response to that? Because you
Oh,
got a
man,
few
that was-
media coverage there. I'm pretty sure that you would have had a response of, oh, what is he doing? And then also of like, this guy is onto something. I feel like that really broke you into who Myles is. At least in my perspective, I've obviously been following your music for a while and I've known who you are for a while. But when you released that song, I was like, this, I feel like is what Myles
me
is.
to a new crowd, and it did introduce me to people who liked it and to people who didn't like
course.
what I had to say. But I guess that's the thing when you start tasting fame. Like you're gonna get people
The
that don't
beauty
like
of music.
the stuff you make, and they have no problem telling you that it's shit. But and you're gonna meet people that really like the stuff you do and that will keep on giving you courage to do more.
Were you ever scared to release that song?
No, not really.
No? Not
No,
at all?
not really.
There wasn't even
I
like
was
a...
vibing. I was vibing.
Yes? Okay, wow.
Wait, what's the most, like, why would he be afraid, like, for people and
I
and
think
me?
mainly because it is... I wouldn't say it's... an attack on Maltese culture, but it is questioning what Malta has come to, and in a very good way, because there are questions that all of us ask, you know, where, I mean, Malta's being run by greed or corruption. This was even going through the time of everything with Panama Papers, and, you know, when you could really see that Malta was going through a tough time.
What was the most offensive thing in there?
I think the most offensive thing in there was probably the line using rupees to buy chisk.
Rupees to buy chisk.
Yeah. And it's just a reference of how the population keep on like saying, oh, I'm sick of the Indians that are here. Like, well, they're doing jobs that you don't want to do.
Yeah,
so.
they can deliver your chisk like you do that home.
So,
like.
But yeah, that thing really kind of pinched some people and
pinched a nerve. A nerve that needed to be pinched at the end of the day. And I feel like that's what good music is all about.
But it's a good balance. It's not like fuck you, like that.
No, definitely. You know, I mean,
triggerable people
the lines
upset,
before
you know?
that is saying
It's
how
like on the line.
The lines before that is saying how Malta is just ever changing, and if you see it nowadays, you wouldn't recognize it. So
yeah.
That's true. So quickly, like it's like in a 5 years span, it's like a different image. It's just pretty insane. And now it's gonna be more, right? So plus they're trying to get something fast, so like you can rezone areas. Funky shared this.
Yes. We're getting the fact checking
That's fine.
going.
We don't need to see this. Sorry, what were we?
No, but it's crazy because I feel like music nowadays, when there's all of this happy-go-lucky music, or even if it's like slower music and more emotional, but when it's surface level, when it's not talking about real problems, people respond better. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like people tend to respond better than when you're straight in your face saying the truth, talking about the country, or talking about even just problems, drug addiction or sex addiction, or things that are just a bit, you know, more, oh, this is too much, you know, or pedophilia. There's so many different artists that really put in a lot of very relevant things that are happening in culture and society right now into their songs.
Not everyone's ready to accept to hear the stuff that hurts, you know, like.
But what do you think needs to change there?
What do I think that needs to change?
Yeah.
Well, open your ears is the first thing that you need to do, because you're really getting triggered by someone saying something, and if that really is triggering you, that means that it's half true. If you're not ready to believe it, do you believe it's half truth? I mean, it did trigger something, so.
Definitely. And there was another track as well.
Jahan. There's quite a few Maltese tracks that talk about political corruption.
Okay, and can you take me down the road of what sparked this anger inside of you to go, you know what, I'm going to write a number of tracks that tackle a number of situations we have on the island, and I'm going to release it, and I'm going to see what happens. And also how that then affected how you're making music today. Do people expect you to keep on making music like this?
I think so, because I did get a few comments of people looking forward to releasing more music in the same kind of style.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, it's so easy to write about this stuff because it's something that I'm going through like every day. You know, I wake up with construction noises that we can't afford to have our own place being creative in the industry. You know, it's all the things that I face through my life. So it's really natural for me to write about this stuff.
So it's just something that you have no inner doubt that there are things that need to be said and should be said.
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. Wow. And there was another band as well that you were part of. Kill the Action.
Kill the Action, yeah. Play bass for them.
Okay. How was that experience? Kill the Action was, again, very in your face, you know, say it as it is.
I mean, Kill the Action, we started out as a featured artist. We wrote 2 tracks with them. Funky and I wrote a cover of Freestyler. We did our own verses on that song. Microphone.
So good.
Yeah,
oh,
it's a classic.
Amazing.
Then we ended up writing Jahan together.
Okay.
I did film the music video myself for that track. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. And yeah, basically they needed a bassist, and they were like, "Hey man, we need a bassist. Can you come play for us?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're good guys. I'll come play for you." And it's fun, honestly.
How long did you do that for with Kill the Action?
It's been a year and a few months now, so.
Amazing. Wow. And I mean, you touched up on obviously recording that music video and doing that because, as I said at the beginning, you are not just a musical artist. You are a very visual artist. You have this multidisciplinary mind where you don't just write music and compose music and play music, but I feel like you're somebody who sees music. When you're playing, do you actually see things?
All the time.
Seriously, what do you see?
Most of my music, I envision music videos when I'm writing the tune.
Wow.
Like, most of it.
So you associate moods, you associate colors, you associate like geometry and stuff like that as well?
Definitely.
Wow. Okay. Because I mean, just the other day, I remember we were having a meeting. I think this was at least like a month ago, 2 months ago. And I remember you just whipped out your laptop and you were looking at a music video. And you're like, this is what this is like a vision in my head put straight onto the screen. And you showed it to a bunch of us and I was looking at it and I didn't realize half of the things that you were speaking about. You were like, you see this, you see the color scheme. There's never any different color in each scene, but each scene then is also reflecting a different mood through its colors. You can see that there's never too much going on in one. And then and you started pointing out things that really made it more interesting visually that I would have never realized as a person who just likes to watch music videos. To me, it was like, wow, this is a cool music video. But to you, it was, what was going on in this person's head? Why did they do it this way?
I don't think I can explain it, but just sounds really give me this feel of vision, moods. Like if I hear a certain sound, I might say, okay, this is red.
Okay,
like,
wow.
I wrote a song on the album, Wishing Well, and while I was writing, I'm like, okay, this is blue. Like, definitely. The music video at least will have a lot of
Have you been feeling blue recently? Hence the hair.
No.
So I just had to. But you filmed over 50 music videos? How many have you done now?
I lost count.
That's insane.
Go on Valhalla Music's channel and figure that out yourself, but I've lost count.
And what's
honestly.
the most un-Myles music video you've ever filmed? Like something that if someone watches this music video, they're like, there's no way Myles filmed this.
I don't know.
Like the furthest thing from punk or rock or, you know. Like,
out of character moment.
Exactly.
Or not that you filmed, that you did, because I think you might not want to comment on another.
I think Silver Lining. Silver Lining was a song from my first EP. And it's the first video where I tried to act certain emotions. So it kind of felt weird.
It was forced, kind of like.
Because most of my earlier videos were like performance based, me singing to the camera, right? But for this song, I wanted to portray certain emotions.
Oh, it was like your go at acting out
I was literally forcing
emotions,
myself to cry in my car just to get tears rolling on my face.
Oh my God, wow.
So,
quick trick for that, pipette in the eye. You're good. But amazing. And has the way that you film music videos also changed your relationship to the way that music or you write music? Like when you're writing music, do you immediately start saying this is how the music video is going to look? Or does it go vice versa of like, you know what? I'm seeing this music video in my head. I need to create music around it.
Most of the time it comes while writing music. Okay. Like when I'm building the track, I get like more in-depth visions, but also sometimes it's also hard to reproduce what I'm visioning, so I end up for a demo copy of the thing,
version
if you want to call it like that.
Amazing. Wow. But it takes a lot. I don't think a lot of artists can do both. Hence why then a lot of music artists hire teams to help with music videos, which is obviously fair enough because they're focusing on the music. But the fact that you can focus on the music, you can also write and compose the music, and then you can also visualize the music video and produce it. And kind of, you know.
That's also sound like a recipe for burnout as well.
Don't we know it? Have you gotten any big burnouts?
Man. I hate it. I honestly hate it. Sometimes I just wake up and can't function, like so many things to do, so many things to catch up with. I end up posting on my social medias and then do nothing at all. Like, okay, I posted, that's all. Like sometimes I just leave work piling up because I don't feel like doing anything at all because burnout
Do you think burnout is needed as an artist? Or do you think it's just more annoying than anything else?
Sometimes it's needed, but sometimes it's annoying. When you have deadlines, it's annoying. But when you don't have deadlines, it's like a forced break is also nice.
Fair. And what has been your cure to burnout so far? What has worked the best for you? Is it giving yourself that grace period of like, listen, maybe I just need a break for a few days?
Trying to find a space for a little break, quick getaway somewhere.
Okay.
But I haven't been able to do that. But hopefully sometime soon I can like kind of lay off for a while, maybe schedule all my next posts for a bit and like stay off social media, because social media is a very toxic environment. Sometimes I just post and dump it because you end up doom scrolling. And
do you feel like you got more burnout since you've been, I don't want to say forced, but as artists, people are kind of forced, quote unquote, to push to that next level of, you need to market yourself on social media. You think burnout came from when that started, or was burnout way before you had to deal with social media?
no, I think since social media started, burnout is more a common thing. Like, because you do need to be posting on social media and spread like awareness. Before, in the old days, you used to sell tickets to a gig, used to sell merch, and that's pretty much it. Promoted right before a gig comes, you go print flyers, stick them on windshields of cars. Now it's different, like now you don't really have to be anyone to have the power to reach people, because it's at your fingertips. We have access to all around the world with just a phone. So it's easier to connect with people, but you have to put in the work to connect with the people. They're not going to connect with you if you're not posting.
There's so much shit on the internet. So it's very hard to really filter out all of that shit and get your stuff really through to people, which I think is a big struggle that artists have nowadays. And I feel like it's also changed the relationship of musicians with their music. I feel like most of the time people are trying to write a catchy tune that they know will go viral on TikTok, or they know this chorus is going to go viral everywhere and people are going to do these stupid dances to them. Sorry, I hope I'm not offending anyone who does these dances. But, it's kind of like that was never the main purpose of making music. Back in the day, back in the 80s, people used to make music to make people feel something. And nowadays people make music to make people dance to it on TikTok. I feel like there has been that change of relationship where it's
they're
like
feeling something while they're doing that, though. I mean, is it just nostalgia? Like they're having fun. I've never done it, but I see people sometimes in the park or something hyping up and they have the phone propped up. But it looks fun.
I guess it does look fun, but then at the same time, is it as fun for the artist? Are they really creating music that they love because they love it? Or are they following an algorithm of saying like, if I create a beat like this is definitely going to go viral because it's danceable or because it's catchy or because it's this or it's that.
Okay, but since when someone makes you something like a table or a chair or house, do we say like, how is the experience for the builder? Like it's basically about the person hearing the music.
There is some music that you could say is inauthentic. That's really made to go viral. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call it out, like Cardi B and stuff like that. It's not really promoting anything that's of value.
It's true. It's true.
It's really made for.
I think people
media.
gravitate towards that the most, though, because there's like nothing to contest and they don't need to think, and it's just
but
like,
wouldn't you want
really prefer
a piece of music that you can relate to? That's like from an authentic place, made authentically.
I do like that music, but there's also a time and place, because it's like in your car on your own in your headphones, like you'd hear certain music, and then it's like a lot of the music I'd be hearing. I think about it like. It's not really something you could play in public spaces. And like how much of our music listening is like what's played in the supermarket, like outside in the background at parties. So
I mean, my shopping would be much easier if there was Papa Roach playing instead of some stuff. So
oh wow. But I think this is where the split came to, the divide of people who consume music and who feel music. I think it's also the split of people that go to concerts just to say they went out, to a gig. They went out to see some live music. and the people, especially within the underground music scene. And that's, I think, where the underground music scene exploded, because it was just a bunch of these people that were sick of hearing the same thing, sick of being in crowds with people who didn't care about what was being played. They just cared about being present, you know, where there was stage and music and a vibe, just to say they went out and had a good time, you know? And I think this is where the split came of, we need to create a community and a mini society, basically. I view it as a mini society where people are making music because they care about something, and people are coming to the gigs to really, you know, like mosh pits and jump on each other. And even if it's not jumping on each other on mosh pits and it's a whole different genre, but it's to feel something, to feel connected to the musician on stage, to the person next to you, to yourself and the emotions you've been, you know, pushing down for so long. I think that's where that divide comes from. I feel like there are two very different listeners in this world, and you can really feel it when you go to a gig, which listener you are and what listeners the people around you are.
Yeah, definitely.
But where would you rather be? Where would you rather have those viral TikTok dances, have those viral Instagram reels blowing up and people really like, you know, doing stuff over your music and sharing it, because that is amazing for an artist. That is the way that people get famous. Or would you rather not have any of that, but have the people that are listening to your music really understand and feel what you're saying? Because this is a very heavy divide. I mean, it's basically money over music.
I do tend to kind of lay somewhere in between, right? Because I do make covers, but then put my own twist on it. So I'm given something that's familiar, but also a piece of myself with it. Like, for example, I've written Nirvana in Maltese, and it was quite a good hit on social media. So I'm giving you something that you already know, which is like a Nirvana tune, but the words, I changed them to something that I relate more. So I also gave you a piece of myself with it. So I do like to think of myself that I'm the artist that's somewhere in between. So if I happen to go viral from a stupid cover I do, there's gonna be the real me on there as well, you know?
That's like a good balance, you know, because I think it's like a big problem in the whole arts community, or what, like some people have completely like lost the concept of making value or whatever. They're like, I'm really doing what I want. Like, why can't I make a living from this? Just completely having foregone the notion that it's like people give you money when you give them something you want. Like, it's a trade. But the way you're saying it is good, you know, because you keep selling it, but like, money as an attention is like a minimized version, but that's what would lead to money. Like, it's like you're still putting yourself in, but you have to serve the audience. And this, like, I tried for some years making music, and in the end, like, I never wanted to serve the audience. I only wanted to do my thing. And then I noticed the pointlessness of it, because I was too self-serving.
Also,
you know?
introduce them to my stuff, they would be more open to hearing it and giving me a chance.
Like, you bring them
remember,
in.
I'm a solo artist. I'm not a band. So when you see a band on social media, you instantly think of brotherhood. Like, you see these four guys, like this family. You're seeing a family, a bond on screen. When you see me, I'm mostly alone all the time. So there's no relatability unless it's something I'm saying.
And there's nothing to hide behind, sort of. It's just straight you. Like, there's nothing to divert the focus or what, you know?
So having having something that's familiar with the viewer, be it the tune, the cover, like whatever I'm saying.
It's like a backdoor into their mind, sort of, as well. Like, they would feel already comfortable with that thing, and now they're getting comfortable with you. It's very smart. Like, you're just getting me thinking with this, like, what about like the image, like presenting yourself uniquely, or like however you describe it? Like, what's the whole life journey with that? Like, personally, I'm like the most like mentally plain, like I just go for the plainest option. So I don't really know, like, what's this experience like, you know, like having all this probably transformations and ways of looking, you know, like tats, hair, styles. Like, how does that feel? Like, what's it all about?
I mean, I've always liked being myself. Like, whether it's green hair, whether it's red hair, whether it's a shaved hair, dreadlocks, mohawk, I've had it all. I've seen it all. On the day I turned 18, I got my first tattoo. So I didn't get it when I was younger than 18.
So you're not a rebel.
I'm not. I'm a rebel.
Myles
I'm a rebel on the edge.
A legal rebel.
A legal rebel. Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it hasn't all been nice. I'm judged quite easily for.
You said you had some like in job interviews. You had some interactions.
Don't get me started on that.
That was really curious.
Once I was applying for this job interview, which was like a door-to-door distribution, and I think back then I had like red hair. I had my tunnels already, and the guy was like, "But you're not presentable for people like this." I'm like, are you the one speaking? You look like a fucking McFlurry or something like
That's what you told him.
I was straight up rude,
Fair enough. You weren't gonna get the job anyway at that point.
You can't really judge a book by its cover,
Not at all. Not at all. But as a musician, they do. They do. The way that they look at a person is the way that their music is gonna be. So
you think so?
I think so. I think people, the minute that they see somebody, they assume what kind of music you make. And then it's great to prove them wrong. Because when you look at you, imagine, anyone that doesn't know who Myles is and sees you for the first time and you say, I am a musician. I feel like the first thing that's going to come to their mind, correct me if I'm wrong, is like punk, rock, maybe metal as well.
But there's kind of the two flavors, because there's those musicians, like they never really show themselves much. They're not making reels and pictures there, but it's just album cover and music every few years. Like you don't know anything about him. And those I just visualize what I'm hearing. But when you know the person as a character, you look at them, of course.
I think so. I think having the look is also important in music. Like owning the look as well. Like for example, I see music as a whole package. You're
giving a show. You just whatever you do, if you just did the exact same thing, just like looking, like just your average office worker of equivalent age with no like crazy cool look, it's like it would instantly be less. It would still probably be interesting if it was, but it's just going to be more interesting like this. Like you're adding value to people, like you're a walking art kind of.
I believe that myself. Yeah, I try when I walk into a room, I always try to bring music in with me. So I always try to keep that kind of edgy look.
But has it ever also affected the judgment that people have, forecasted upon you? Like you're saying with this job interview, obviously they were like, you're not someone who can sell stuff if you go door to door. They're going to take one look at you and close the door in your face. It's a judgment per se. Has the judgment of your looks ever affected you and the music that you make?
It does. It does make you think twice about things. Like, am I doing the right thing? Should I become normal? But then again, what's normal? Like, I feel like this is me, so this is my normal. Like, if you feel like that's you and that's your normal, that's fine. I accept that. Like, doesn't mean we can't be friends just because you're not like me.
Yeah, it's a good way to reason it. Yeah.
And you were talking about the relatability of people when they see you online and you're not, within a band, so it's harder for them to relate to you. But I feel like one thing that people do manage to relate to you with is your style and your look and the way that you are unapologetically you. You have this different look to you that really screams like, I'm different and that's fine. And you know what? I'm great because I'm different. And I'm great because I do stand out from the crowd. But also because of the things that you speak about. You speak about within your music lots of topics besides politics that we went into before or Malta or whatever. It's also mental health. You do have a lot of topics where you do speak very openly about mental health, which I feel like, especially within the male world, is something that maybe isn't spoken about enough or isn't openly spoken about enough. What was your journey with this specific topic?
So yeah, basically, my first ever EP was called Wasted Youth Facility, and it features like 4 tracks, basically all written about mental health, but in different aspects of mental health. The first track on it was Going Over, and it's basically a track where you're talking about the million thoughts you get in your head, like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? Like, am I good enough? Like, is this acceptable?
Oh, it's like never knowing if the choice is right, and this whole like circular whirlwind, just going over the same thing again and again.
Basically, then like I speak about the 27 Club. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the 27 Club. It's like like when I was younger, I've always been told that you have to be famous before you're 27 because all the great artists die at 27 and all this stuff.
I heard it, but I
So-
never believed it because there's so many that are like really old and even
It's
when
funny
they're
'cause
60, they become like...
My solo career started when I was 27. So 27 was literally the birth.
Were you
of
worried?
Myles.
Were you like, is this it? Like, is this my last?
No, this is the start. 27.
Okay.
Maybe it was
Okay.
the
Nice
death
for
of
me.
old Myles and the birth of a new Myles.
Could be. Could be. I mean, it was the death of this misconception in my head, and I literally went all in, and I still believe that I'm all in this.
Amazing. But I feel like people that have this timeline on you need to be successful by 27 or by 30 or by 35, you need to have, you know, a record label or a record deal or whatever. I feel like it rushes the process of the creativity for that artist. I feel like so many artists have this ticking deadline in their head that's
and
non-existent.
you end up compromising your authenticity for it.
Yes.
So-
And you end up pushing out things out there that aren't authentically you and that aren't even aligned with the type of artist you want to be,
Yep.
just so you get music out there.
Yep.
Which I think is something that a lot of musicians struggle with, but don't know how to really get out of their own head with. I mean, when you're speaking about mental health and the mental health topics that you also pour into your songs, has this ever been a struggle of, am I saying this too blatantly? Am I putting this out into the world too fast? Should I be slowing down? Should I not be speaking about these topics as bluntly as I really am right now? Or was that also a process of therapy for you, of really getting through what you're speaking about through your music?
I mean, music isn't my only therapy, but no, I don't think I can ever hold back. I think if there's something that I need to say, and if I really believe in something and it's part of my message to the world, I'm just gonna go for it. Thankfully, I do go to actual therapy as well, so that also helps with the weight of being a creative in Malta. So yeah, I do believe in therapy. Music on its own isn't a good enough therapy to get you out of life situations. I think you do need a bit of guidance in life. That's how I see therapy, guidance.
It's something that not a lot of artists believe, which is very refreshing. A lot of artists do solely believe that music is their therapy outlet. So hearing somebody who advocates for mental health through their music, especially somebody that, you know, is out of the box, you know, somebody who looks like a rebel, somebody who looks like they don't give a fuck, you know, you have that portrayal. And this is also a judgment from my side, you know, so that's where the judgment comes in, where when you have such a bold look, people tend to think like, this person doesn't give a fuck, they don't need therapy, they don't care about what people say, they don't care about any of that. And then they listen to your music and they're like, shit, this guy has gone through stuff and he's actually advocating for people to speak up, to take care of their mental health. And it's an image that I feel like needs to be bridged, rather than just people separating the bold look for not giving a fuck and just all, you know, it's the same thing with the mixture of rock artists being wild and free and into drugs and sex and rock and roll, you know, that perception. There's always these bonds.
That's another misconception, like rock and roll. Some people think of rock and roll as this sex, drugs lifestyle, but I think rock and roll is waking up tomorrow and not having to go to a 9 to 5 and making music. That's like the rock and roll lifestyle for me.
Wow.
You want to go for a beer? Fine, let's go. I'll drop music. I'll do it later. I have time. Like having time at the tip of your hand is what's rock and roll to me.
That's amazing. And rock and roll means different things to different people. You know, rock and roll can mean being woken up in the morning by a spar of energy and this spark of creativity and going and doing it and not having to abide by a schedule or a routine.
Yeah.
But that can also, rock and roll can mean the complete opposite. But I feel like nowadays this conception of what artists are and what they're meant to do is heavily changing, especially within the technological world. I mean, we're seeing a lot of AI tools as well being infiltrated within music, which is changing the perception of a lot of people within the artists. People look at music nowadays and they're like, even people look at album covers. I look at album covers and I'm like, was this made by AI? Like this is I don't think this is real. This definitely was made by AI. Music is harder then, because when you listen to music, you don't think about AI, but then there are certain things that you're like, what's your relationship with AI? Because I know that you
Honestly,
have...
I like AI, but as a tool, not as an end goal.
Okay.
Like, for example, I use some AI in videos. Like if there's a...
For graphics?
For graphics and
Okay.
stuff. For example, if there's something that would usually take me 12 hours to do, and I can do it in 5 minutes, I'm going to choose the 5 minutes. But
Fair enough.
I'm not going to let AI do my music, because I think that's something that I write through my emotions. And I don't think that
AI has
code
emotions.
can
Yet.
replicate what I'm feeling, unless it's really chipped in my system,
Yeah.
which I don't think I have any.
Wow. Okay, so you've actually found AI useful so far as a tool to help with maybe the harder parts of music videos when it comes to specific graphics or effects or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay. And where do you think that artists need to build a boundary between using AI through their creativity? Like, do you think there can be a healthy balance and relationship and boundary with AI for creatives?
yeah, of course. I mean, I try to follow that myself. I have certain boundaries, like AI will never touch my music. But I think it's a good tool to have on hand. You know, like if you're working on a photo and you want to remove a background and you don't want to go
Definitely.
on Photoshop and spend like an hour tracing the outline of the subject. Just put it in AI, remove background, boom, you have it. 5 minutes. It's a time saver.
It saves you enough time to focus on the more creative parts, the
Yeah.
music parts. Wow. Amazing. And now there's a new album as well,
Yeah,
right?
the
The
cover-
latest album.
The cover isn't made by AI.
And I was about to ask because
Disclaimer.
what the fuck are those covers? Are those are all X-rays?
Basically, it's a collection of X-rays, MRI scans that I've had done myself.
How many times have you injured yourself, Myles?
More than I can count on.
With
my
what? What,
fingers.
with skating?
Skating, BMX,
my
motorbike. I don't know.
Everything. Have you ever
I love
injured yourself
XG.
with music though?
Have I ever what?
Injured yourself with music? Have you ever done a risque thing on stage and like crowd
No.
surfing and broken a leg in the
But I
meantime?
did break a leg a week before our album launch.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
this was back in.
Hey, you got a new album cover. There you go. Wow.
I went to the garage. I showed up with crutches, and they were like, "Man, we have to play next week." I'm like,
Yeah, I
"Yeah,
can
I'll
still
be
play."
fine next week."
Oh my God. What a trooper. But that's insane. Okay, so what's the album title?
It's called Bare Bones. Yeah,
Makes
coming.
sense.
It's coming this February,
Wow.
and the artwork is basically a collection of X-rays and MRIs that I've been through. There's like some on my chest, my slip disc in my back. It's a motorbike accident, broken wrist, skateboarding.
What does it feel like to exist in your body like now? Like, do you feel these things
It
when you get up?
feels- it
in the
probably
morning,
feels
or
like
is it past, sort of?
It feels like you're 73 or something.
Oh
Something like
shit!
that.
So you feel like, because that's what I get afraid of. Like, I've never really had much major injuries at all, and I'm not afraid like, oh, it'll be out of action for a few months, but about the permanent, like, does it heal back or is something?
No, it does
always
heal back.
but
It's incredible. It's incredible how the
it
body
gets like
heals,
basically like new,
yeah,
sort of.
if you're determined enough to get back on track.
And your rehab and everything. That's good, because I hurt my knees for like a month now, but it's getting a bit better, and I don't know. I haven't seen a doctor. It'll be
I'd
fine.
suggest being in the water. Walking in the water helps.
Walking in the water. It's a
Yeah.
good idea. It's getting a bit cold
Moses
now.
style.
Resistance against the knee with water is the best therapy.
Yeah, actually, no, heated pool. I'll try this out. Thank you.
There you go. You're
See,
welcome.
we're learning new stuff on this show. I mean, we learn plenty new stuff, but even medical tips, you know?
See, a little bit of everything. It's like a minestra for a podcast. I'm in college. But I mean, these are big sacrifices to take as part of the lifestyle. I mean, I feel like motorcycles and skating and BMX and music and just having that thrill of life is part of that lifestyle. You know, I don't think you would really be who you are if this wasn't a part of that lifestyle. So you do make a lot of sacrifices, no, of injuring yourself or not having enough time for yourself to maintain this type of
To be
lifestyle.
fair, recently I've been trying to be very selective on the kind of activities
He's
I
getting
partake
old.
in. No,
He's getting on the frontal lobe that's closed.
It's not getting old. It's prioritizing the fun in my life.
AKA getting old. Yes.
So I don't know. For example, if I'm skating, I'm not gonna risk anything.
So you won't
extraordinary.
skate through a ring of fire.
Well, that sounds fun.
See, there's still hope.
I mean, I wouldn't do it before a gig, like a week before a gig.
2 weeks maybe.
Yeah, 2 weeks is
Okay.
fine.
All right, there we go. Love it. But this is going to be a very interesting album as well. I mean, people literally get to see the inside of your body. What more can they ask for? They're seeing the inside of your body and the inside of your emotions.
I think it's
Through
the
music.
most vulnerable I've ever been. This set of tracks.
Wow.
They came from a special place.
You go vulnerable a lot. Like it's quite like it's endearing, you know, it's like you'd want to pay attention sort of like, and you had, I don't know if it was a song or maybe you kept posting, but you were talking a lot about gratitude. I think you had a song about
That's the
gratitude.
first track. That's the first track on Bare Bones, Gratitude song.
On the new one that's
Yeah.
coming. Yeah, it was really nice. It got me thinking like it'll be a bit
And
more
it's quite
friendly.
a shift from Riptide, Anxiety, Die Like a Rockstar to Gratitude song. It's
Yeah,
quite a
and
shift.
even when we were thinking before about like the style and the preconceived notions and all, I was like, if it was just the style, but then the way you acted as a person was like really into like just being a punk, like it would be really boring. But it's the style, it's like a visual hook. But then you're like saying just something really unique and personable. You're just, well, not unique. We all should be grateful, but as in a human normal thing that is unique to hear from an artist, say, not just randomly, you know. And I liked it. Yeah, I definitely was trying to be more grateful and whatnot, as you say in the song.
I mean, we do need to be more grateful for
It's Christmas
the
after
experience we go through, you know, like
The ups and the downs. You know, we go through the parts where we really need to realize what we have, what we don't have, what other people don't have that you have, and be grateful for where you are in life.
yeah, and you end up appreciating all the little things and little encounters you go through daily, basically.
At the end of the day, half of these MRI scans could have ended up so different. They could have ended up being that MRI scan that showed that you got paralyzed from an accident. You never know. One wrong tiny little turn, and
Yep.
if it hits a different bone, if it hit a different angle, that could have changed your life drastically. So even within that artwork, there is that sense of I'm grateful for where I am because of what I went through.
Yeah, like
But what made you want to turn these album works or these MRIs into the album works of your album?
honestly, I was just browsing my health.
Oh my god.
So basically, my health is this self app, like app about yourself.
See how
about
fucked up your body and your
your
health is.
your blood test results and your medical appointments. I was just browsing. Oh, medical images. Oh, there's a lot. Oh, this could be a good artwork.
There's enough for an entire album in here, guys. Good. We're done.
It's
So,
actually, it's incredible that like you move normally, like you're active, have active hobbies, like are fine, like consider doing the grid, like
Sports, brother.
Let's see, Myles. Can you do this? Okay, he's normal. It's fine. So, yeah, you're good. You're good. Could have been worse.
I'm a huge advocate for sports, so I think if you're active, I think it serves you for quite a long time. You know.
Definitely. I know 90-year-olds who still go out for just a morning walk, not even a jog, more like a walk. But that gives them energy for the day. That keeps their body moving.
Yeah,
I feel
and
like the worst
I know
thing is
people
when you
who
stop
got old
moving.
too quick, like
Yeah.
just because they fell into the loop of doing nothing.
Wow. What do you think is next for music? For music in general, when it comes to what could happen in the world now? And also, what's next for Myles and your music? You're releasing this album in February. What do you think you want to do next? Is there anything you want to do next? Or is it something that's just like, I don't know, I'm going to keep
so
on
many
creating?
things going on. So many things going on. But that's the plan. Keep on being creative. I'm thinking of a cover album, like a Maltese version of covers, collect an album and just release that and enjoy that process. I'm self-producing nowadays, so
Ooh.
I'm also producing for other people. So I also plan on growing that.
So you're collaborating with a lot of artists
Yeah.
at the moment. Okay, I mean, you've collaborated already with a number of artists, and I'm assuming that there's more to come. But what have been some really fun collaborations that you've done over the years?
This dude, Brian Borch, local rapper.
This dude.
literally out of nowhere. I think I met him first. I filmed a video for him. Then, we're talking. I'm telling him, listen, I produce and all this. And he was like, okay, write me a song. Fine. I write him a song. He likes it. He writes his own verses, comes to my place, records the vocals, and there you go. And I plan on doing that more, hopefully.
Okay, so collaborating is still within the forefront of wanting to create that music, aside from doing the solo projects.
Yeah, that's probably coming from being in love with so many different styles of music.
Being able to get artists to hop on,
Because for example, I like hip hop, but I can't always put hip hop in my music. There was a time where it was in my music, but now I don't think there's a time and place for the current stand of the project. So if a hip hop artist wants to get a song produced, I'm down to put my 2 cents on a track,
Amazing. And I mean, I think the beauty within that is that even within one genre, you just mentioned hip hop. Within hip hop, you have so many different genres that you can still go, like subgenres within that. If we're looking at Maltese artists, someone like Hooligan, someone like Lapis, like Funky, like Semplicemente 3, all very different.
Yeah, definitely.
They're all within the hip hop genre, but they're very different. They're subgenres. You can't compare. You can't compare each one because Semplicemente 3 are coming from a Maltese background. They also collaborate with a lot of foreign rappers that come and rap in Italian and Spanish and, Portuguese and in so many different languages. And they create this movement flow and they're very of the streets, Semplicemente 3, simply of the streets. And then you got people like Hooligan that's, or Lapis. They're very different to each other, but they still represent the same genre. So then when an artist comes in and collaborates, it's that beauty of finding your way through and being like, this track, this composition, these lyrics would work so well with this artist.
Yeah.
And still having that creative freedom of not like, I did hip hop, I did rock, I did punk, so I done it all. No, there's still so many things you can explore within each of those.
Because they're all different, but there's still things we all relate with, so having that as a common ground kind of brings you together automatically.
Definitely. And you've also started collaborating with some artists that I feel like we're out of your comfort zone. We're not from a punk or a hip hop or a metal or rock kind of background, but we're also other solo artists. For example, recently you've had this new project, Myles and Cora.
Yeah,
I've been seeing
I've been
around.
doing this duo acoustic.
Which is something very different for Myles and something where Cora, I feel like, has a background within like very soulful, very like a good voice for rock as
Great
well.
voice,
Amazing.
lovely voice.
No, and she's an amazing artist. She's also I think she has a bit of that visual artist as well, not just musical. Like she is fantastic, but she's very different to what you would have usually
She's
approached.
coming from a drum and bass pop background. So it's
Insane.
literally 2 different ends of the spectrum, but
Did that push
somehow
you?
we make it work.
But what did that push you in pushing your limits to what you thought you could create and what you're managing to create with her?
No, not really. Not really, because, we met with the same goal
Okay.
of just jamming some covers and being ourselves and basically try to build this set to play in bars in winter and stuff like that. So kind of both having the same vision for the project made it quite easier for the both of us.
Okay, amazing. And have you learned anything from her that you hadn't learned before about yourself or about the music industry?
I'm not sure.
So
I'm
not
not
yet.
sure. We clicked so much. I think we were like covering 10 tracks at a time every time we met. Like we were on such of the same level.
It just
So-
instantly worked. Would you ever consider entering into these festivals? There's Anja Tal Poplu, there's Musica, there's Eurovision.
So earlier we spoke about boundaries. This is where my boundaries come in place.
Okay. Interesting. So that is a boundary of you as an artist. So if
It's-
an artist came up to you, okay, and told you, listen, I have this project in mind. I want you to collaborate. I want you to be a session musician or whatever, but I want us to go out for Eurovision. Would you do it?
I would produce
Okay.
music for people that want to do like Eurovision, Anja Tal Poplu.
But
I
you
think
wouldn't
this year
play.
one on Anja tal-Populu and on Musica as well.
Okay.
I produced stuff for other people.
But you wouldn't physically play?
No.
Why?
No, definitely not. Because it's not something I relate with. Music is not a competition for me. Music is an outlet. The fact that there's a first prize, like a first place prize, puts me off already. I don't think music can compete. Music is either good or bad, is relatable or non-relatable. Like, it's your thing or not.
Would you rather be on the other side of that? If someone had to approach you to be a judge within something like this, would you, from a creative, from a person with musical background, go up for an opportunity where you can really decide who gets to a certain place or who doesn't? It is a bit of a tricky one, but would you be on the other side of that?
I might if I had more experience. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Currently, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I believe
But you're
I'm
open to
still
it.
in a learning stage. I mean, I do trust my ear. I know what sounds good and what doesn't sound good, but I don't think that with my current experience, I can be a fair judge. Because I can be a good judge. I don't think I can be a fair judge.
Okay. Interesting. Why don't you think you can be a fair judge?
I think
You're still biased?
Yeah, I'm still biased to certain types of music.
Okay, interesting. And what's left for this solo project? So, I mean, the solo project has been in the works for a few years now. Where did you want to take this? Is it something that you're just creating to create? Is it something with a bigger goal or a bigger purpose?
Well, I can't really say where this is gonna lead. All I know is that I'm gonna keep doing this until I keep enjoying the process. So whenever this feels like it's getting boring or I'm not feeling authentic, is probably the moment I'll take a break from it. But I'll still be involved in music, don't get me wrong. But so far I've been doing this just to enjoy the process. If it leads to maybe moving abroad for a few months to make more contacts, I'm willing to take any risk at this point because I'm investing all in it. And I choose to keep growing. I choose to post consistently on social media, grow my audience, release consistent singles in Maltese and in English. So I'm putting the work in. And I'm just enjoying the journey. I'm not gonna plan the end goal because I don't want to be let down, if it makes sense. And I still want to be open to explore things. Like, I built certain boundaries, like not being in Eurovision or not signing to a label. I want to stay independent as far as I can get because, let's face it, if a label is interested in signing me, then it means that there's virality potential.
Yes.
So that kind of will approve that I'm on the right track, if you want to
definitely.
put it that way.
I like this whole, like, you are just very present in the moment and it's not about the outcome or the end goal. Like, if this is just applicable to everything, there's something like, authentic about just doing something because you want to do it. You don't have this ulterior motive, like it's only for the sake of a goal. And then sometimes you get the stuff that would have been in your goal anyway to some extent, but even, you're not like hungering after thinking like, oh, I need these results. Like, you're doing it for its own sake. It's like
when you
sincerely.
focus on results, you end up getting let down because what results are you gonna focus on?
And it's like
a
a
million
loop.
people on social media.
If you get the result, then instantly you want the next result. Like, it's this mentality is like an addiction. You're like, until the result's so big that you set and you'll never get it. So,
and if you're doing it just to enjoy the process, then whatever result comes, you're happy about that.
It's a bonus.
You're excited about that.
Yeah. And I really like this way of thinking. It's very respectable.
Cheers.
Thank
you, my brother.
Note, we're going to start closing up. But right before we do, I do want to ask you one last question, right?
Okay.
Are there any secret projects in the works at the moment that might reintroduce an artist as something completely different that you're currently working on that maybe you can give us a little hint towards?
I mean, earlier this year, I collaborated with Owen Leuellen,
Okay.
and we wrote a 7-track EP crossbreed between the proper pop punk and rap.
Oh,
And
wow. Now,
I'm-
Owen Leuellen is very, in my eyes, he's very just like strict hip hop
Yeah,
and rapper.
yeah.
So this is going to be a
But
very
these
interesting.
tracks, man, they're the vibe. Literally, they're the vibe. You have Owen on the verses, you have myself on the hooks,
Wow.
and it's just magic. Really, we wrote 7 tracks in 3 sessions, in 3 sittings.
And when is this being released?
No plan yet. No plan. We're just working
Hate
on
that
it.
answer.
It's like 90% there. It just
Okay.
needs that little spice at the end, which we both kind of are sleeping on it until we just figure it out. But
Okay.
we do feel like there's the potential. We just need to top it up with something.
There's
a little
something
bit more
missing that you
spice,
don't
yeah.
know yet that will
And
come
we're
to you
giving
at
it
the right
time. We're both busy with our stuff. Like he's
Fair.
releasing his album, I'm releasing my album, so we both have our things going on. And this is just something that we created together. And when it's time for it, we're gonna put in the last bit of effort and work on it and just put it out in the open.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Myles, for coming on and
Thank you
speaking
for hosting
to us.
me. Thank you for 141 for creating this space for us to basically share more knowledge and awareness about ourselves and what we know.
Amazing. 141 Records hosts The Last Ones every single episode, every single month. So everything you're seeing here is sponsored, not even sponsored, created by 141 Records. And this has been Luc. I've been Jeanine. This has been Myles, the one and only. Make sure you follow his musical journey. His project's coming out. I am so excited to hear this new Owen Leuellen project as well and your album. It's going to be one hell of a ride. And yeah, more to come, more to create, more to experience.
Let's go.
Hell yes. This has been The Last Ones. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, fuckers.